I just received a call from Congressman Kingston. He was very gracious, and I have the utmost respect for Jack, his family, his supporters and friends. He's a tough competitor. He made me better, and he ran a spirited race. I want to thank him for that.
A few minutes ago, I called David Perdue, and I told him two things. I said, David, the numbers are not trending in our direction, and they're probably not going to change. In fact, they won't. And I congratulate you on a victory well fought.
A big upset in the Georgia Senate runoff. Time to warm up the Supremes for another round with Obamacare. The White House slapping down any thought that the president doesn't care about world issues as he heads out to yet another fundraiser. And all the news it's fit to rumble on. Welcome back to MidPoint. Veteran political analyst, commentator, and armed with details certain people in Washington wish you weren't being told about, but he's got them on a daily basis. Dick Morris joins us here on MidPoint. Dick, we've got to start right out with Obamacare now and the reaction that's coming out of Washington, because no matter what the president and the administration says, guess what? They got themselves a real mess on their hands here.
They sure do. And bear in mind there are two shoes left to drop. Courts in Oklahoma and Indiana have not yet ruled on parallel lawsuits being brought in those states. I think the main effect of this ruling is that, the D.C. ruling, is that it legitimizes this case and it makes it mainstream rather than just a kooky lawsuit trying to overturn the law. And I think that it's going to be very hard with that history for the court to rule in favor of the government. I thought it's so significant that the opinions that wanted to sustain Obamacare, that is not to read the plain language of the statute, all talked about don't gut this program and millions of people depend on it and so on and so on. The argument that overturned the regulation said it says what it says. It says that it has to be through a state exchange, and who are we to rewrite that? We're not the Congress, we're the court. And I think that that procedural approach to it, kind of a judicial restraint approach to it, really will appeal to Roberts and to Kennedy, the swing votes on the court, because they're really not making a judgment about Obamacare. They're making a judgment about the powers of the court. And in a strange way, judicial reticence will sanction judicial activism.
What does this tell us, though, Dick, in many ways, about the ineptitude of putting this law together in the first place? We have seen language issues before, but again, this is based on something, we talked about it a couple of moments ago here on the show, a bait and switch, basically, and failing to protect yourself and at least get it ready to go into the future here. It just strikes as amazing ineptitude on the administration's part.
Well, I don't think it was ineptitude. I think it was parliamentary finagling. What happened was they had 60 votes in the Senate for one divine moment right after the election. And then in December of 2009, they lost their 60th vote when, or December of 2010, they lost their 60th vote when, when Scott Brown defeated Coakley to become the senator from Massachusetts. So now they were down to 59. Well, they still had 60. In fact, that Christmas, before the change of senators occurred, they rammed this thing through the Senate with 60 votes. Then they sent it to the House. And the House looked at it and they said, we want all these changes to be made, including correcting this language. But in the meantime, Scott Brown took a seat, and the House looked at it and they said, we want all these changes to be made, including correcting this language. Changes. You can't change a comma, because if you do that, it'll go to conference, it'll go back to the Senate, and I don't have 60 votes anymore. And that's what happened. The language itself was inserted as a payoff to Ben Nelson, senator from Nebraska, who said, I don't want to federalize this thing. I want it to be controlled by the states. And that's why they put that language in when they lost their 60 votes, even with Nelson. I don't want to federalize this thing. I want it to be controlled by the states. And that's why they put that language in. Nomination
now yesterday. David Perdue narrowly beat Jack Kingston. Kingston 11 terms. What exactly, in your opinion, does this say not only about Georgia, but what's coming up? And that's going to be the battle against Michelle Nunn on the Democratic side.
Oh, I think that there won't be much of a battle against Michelle Nunn. I think Perdue will win that easily. I think that but you do have to see the Kingston defeat and what was in effect the Cochran defeat within the Republican primary electorate, even though he won by borrowing some Democratic votes. You have to see those as a piece. That In the South, you're either a conservative because you deeply believe in it, or because you're a politician who represents his state, and he deeply believe in it. Conservative because you deeply believe in it, or because you're a politician who represents his state. They really are. And what those two elections represent is the victory of the ideological movement conservative over the professional politician who is a conservative. And I think that that attests to the strength not only of the Tea Party, but of the impetus behind it.
Digging a little bit, if you will, on Michelle Nunn here, because she has raised more than $9 million, reported $2.3 million left to spend. She's raising a tremendous amount of money there. There are those who feel that it will be competitive. Tell us a little bit why you think $9 million, reported $2.3 million left to spend. She's raising a tremendous amount of money there.
Because they want to see Democratic gains, because they see all these likely Republican upsets, and they want to see something that might countervail it. But Nunn has never led in the polls against anybody, against Kingston or against Perdue. The fact that it was even close was likely because you had a very divisive Republican primary filled with negatives, and they were beating each other up, and Michelle Nunn looked good, although she still lagged in the polls. And everybody's hoping that because her father was a conservative Democrat, everyone will think that she is. But she's not. And the voters of Georgia will see that.
We have seen record low turnouts, quite frankly, in an awful lot of the primary elections right now. In your opinion, is this widespread apathy from the voters, or is there something we're missing?
Oh, I think it's apathy, it's cynicism, it's being turned off. It's the
from the voters, or is there something we're missing?
Oh, I think it's apathy, it's cynicism. But the whole thing means it is more likely for a Republican victory. The fact of the matter is that most of the voters that stay home in off-year elections would vote Democrat if they showed up.
Couple of minutes we have left here. Let's get your opinion on the two main stories that we're following. Certainly what's happening in the Ukraine, the shoot down of MH17, the stare down that is now beginning with Vladimir Putin. In your opinion now, where does and where can President Obama go, as Vladimir Putin basically has said, it's not us, walk away, I don't care, and it does seem to be almost old Cold War standoff again.
Well, I mean, what Obama should do is to develop a backbone and be aggressive on this. There are 3 steps that would solve this problem. One, put the missiles back in Poland and the Czech Republic like they were planning to be, and Obama removed them when he took office, or removed the plans to put them in. Put them back. We know that that drives Republic like they were planning to be, and Obama removed them when he took office, or removed the facilities in the U.S., so that we can take this plethora of gas we have, put it in liquid form, put it on a tanker, and send it across the ocean to Europe to break Putin's monopoly. And thirdly, eliminate the requirement that every single cubic meter of natural gas exports has to be approved by the U.S. government. Signal Russia that we're opening the flow. Russia's time on the world stage is sharply limited. The United States' growth through fracking and other energy development dooms a country totally reliant on energy. It's going to doom Saudi Arabia, it's going to doom Russia for the same reason. It's just a matter of time. Putin's acting aggressively while he's totally reliant on energy. It's going to doom Saudi Arabia, it's going to doom Russia for the same reason. It's just a state of their disempowerment by increasing our natural gas exports.
Do you think people like Angela Merkel of Germany are willing to get behind the president at this point? Because it certainly seems like he's got to have some help from the EU over there, but so far we haven't seen any coming at all.
Well, I think Merkel and Hollande, both of whom have commercial interests on the other side of the fence, legitimate ones for their country, are increasingly facing pressure from within the European Union, not only from Easternists on the other side of the fence, legitimate ones for their country, are increasingly facing pressure and from Great Britain, where Cameron has been very forceful on the subject. And I expect they're going to have to move, and I expect that as the Russians are more and more outrageous in this thing, you're going to see movement toward aggressive sanctions. The key thing we want them to do is to disapprove the Russian pipeline, which would connect Germany directly with Russia. Key thing we want them to do is to disapprove the Russian pipeline. And if it were killed, that would be a big blow to Putin. Europe can end this war very quickly if it rains. That pipeline is now on hold. And if it were killed, that would be a big blow to Putin.
Just as soon have him butt out.
Well, they would assume he butt out because the U.S. is hoping for civilian casualties that they can use to demand Israel have a ceasefire. Israel says, I want to get rid of those tunnels first. And Israel's right and the U.S. is wrong.
All right, there we go. Dick Morris, always a pleasure, my friend. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, still ahead, Vladimir Putin remains the most popular man in Russia. This, of course, likely because most people in Russia are used to being fed a diet chock full of something other than the truth. Well, guess what? They're still getting something other than the truth, and the man is frightfully popular back home. How that affects what's happening when we continue on MidPoint.